Hi there, welcome to 30 Minutes Lawrence. My name is Ralph Galen. I'm a local activist and minister living here in Lawrence by choice. I moved here, I migrated from Andover some years back, and I really love being here. And part of the reason that I love being here is that there are people like Fran Acosta, my guest this morning. So welcome to 30 Minutes. We're through the process of appreciative inquiry. We try to empower people on their journey to peace and justice.
Thank you, Mr. Galen. I'm Fran Acosta. I'm 23 years old. I consider myself an eco-developer. Have been living in Lawrence pretty much my whole life. I migrated from Dominican Republic at the age of 6. And been in Lawrence ever since. Been here in the public school system, and just been involved in anything Lawrence has to offer, from all the organizations to volunteer programs to trying to start your own business to whatever there is to do in Lawrence. I think I have done it.
So you're gonna kick it off, man.
Yeah. This is a place to be at.
You can spit something now.
Oh, some of the raps. All right. What camera should I look at? This one here?
Not quite sure. They'll take care of that, man.
They'll take care of it? All right. Mm-hmm. Let them know. I came from record breaking, blizzard cold, traveled hours on foot, guy accustomed to the cold I have grown. Coming like a Kimbo body blow to the structure of a suck up who got nothing on his own. Let them know. I'm the alligator in the moat. I'm the king up in the castle with the turret by the throne. They ain't building. They just waiting for a loan. See, I got a little wiser, got a little more to show. I reinvent the concept of stilo, go to MIT and rewrite the G code. Possessed by Biggie, I embody the whole East Coast. Every time I rap, lightning strikes the church steeple.
All right. Thanks, Fran.
Hey, no problem, my G.
So you reminded me of some years ago, full disclosure, you're friends with my son, Zach.
Yeah, Zach's my man.
And I drove in with you, Nathan Baez, and Steve.
And Steve Cool. We performed for Rat King that day.
Yeah, and drove in. I didn't understand a word that you guys were saying. Yeah. And I don't know if I felt that old, but I certainly knew that there had been evolution had taken place, and I had not kept up with it. But always been a fan of that spirit. Hey, I just thought of something.
Yeah.
Lawrence. City of the Damned.
City of the Damned.
Remember that?
I remember that. I remember the march. I remember my friends making T-shirts. I remember everybody getting riled up. Was it the Boston Globe who did it?
I think so. It was in the magazine section.
Right.
A fellow that actually lives in Lawrence and goes to St. Patrick's, who was celebrating Father, the priest there, and making him look like the priest, and on the waterfront, fighting overwhelming crime. But how did you react to that?
How did I react to it?
That wasn't your reality.
It wasn't my reality, but I could kind of feel where the priest is coming from, where, I find myself as somebody who believes in good, who believes in something larger, in humanity. And it just so happens that no matter how good you are in Lawrence, there's still those crazy folks who are just doing things, and you're just like, man, we're working so hard to make the city have a better reputation, and you're you're here, shooting a 40-year-old female at a bar,
You're talking about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm talking a couple. Yeah. So there's definitely some weird emotions happening, and I've always felt that in Lawrence. As a kid, it's always been the battle between being a good kid and then always having to see some out-of-pocket situation happening.
Think it's exaggerated?
No, I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's exaggerated. I think, to be honest, we do have a situation of violence that is common to most cities. across the nation. In Lawrence, for me, I feel it to be a little bit too much, especially when it's every other day. You're having a fire, you're having somebody getting shot, this and that, and it's just like, how do people have the time to be so angry? You know, there's a real, I think, psychological issue happening in the city. There's a psychology in some people that still hasn't gotten nurtured and still hasn't been taught to think differently. And I'm speaking about that because I've experienced some folks, you know, some guys who are my age who are just out of pocket, you know, with some of their actions. And I mean, the only thing I could do is promote a better lifestyle and promote peace. But yeah, there is some of that.
Well, I grew up in New York City on a street in Manhattan that was called the worst street one year, voted the worst street in Manhattan. I mean, they had a choice there. Well, they had their pick, but we won it. West 84th Street between Amsterdam and Columbus. And why was because it was the time of this incredible diaspora from Puerto Rico, and people were just crammed into the tenements in that street. The solution was they tore down the building that I grew up in. They tore down the school I went to. They tore down the hospital that I was born in. Urban removal is what it is. And now if you go down that street, it's all gentrified, and there's gelato, you know, shops and so on and so forth. But you cram people with no jobs, no opportunities, not making excuses, but there's bound to be a proportion of people there who react because they don't have the skills.
Yeah. I'm a very empathetical person, but I also grew up in a household with a single mother who had 3 kids, who was working a minimum wage job, and my mom never went to jail, and my mom never killed nobody, and my mom never had to beg for money, and my mom never did some foul thing to move us forward, and my mom didn't get any handouts. She didn't get any grants. She didn't get anything. So if my mom can do it, I am pretty sure a grown 24-year-old male, 30-year-old male can do it as well. And that's what's ingrained in my head right now.
Did your mom have a moral education? Was she?
She did have a moral. That's all she had. I would say she had a strong faith and moral education.
Did she have family?
She didn't. Well? She didn't have family. She was alone. And when she came to Lawrence, she didn't have any family because, sadly, my parents got divorced, and that created a big rip between our family. And my mom, being the woman who came from the Dominican Republic, she didn't have the kind of, you know, that family stability, and she made it happen. So. That's kind of where my empathy ends for some people, because it's like, dude, you have to hold your own weight, and you know, I'm the type of person, you can ask any of my friends, I'll go, you know, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna help them out. Like, I help out my friends and I try to help out people, but I also don't want to be a sucker to some folks and always say, oh man, it's just like, oh, things are hard. Like, nah, man, you're not, you know. There's no reason to be up in the club shooting people up. You know, there's no reason for that. There's no empathy for that. You know, there's no empathy for me, at least, for, you know, some grown men who are just like, I think they're just taking advantage of communities like this, you know? I really think about that, because I've seen otherwise. I've seen people work their way out of things. And it's not to say the bootstrap theory, you know, that you can work your way out of anything, but at some point you gotta have self-responsibility. You know, at some point people have to be responsible for themselves and the actions that they take and what they bring forth to their community and what energy they bring to their community. Because even in Lawrence, we still have a lot of people who are from Lawrence and continue to bash the city. You know, that City of the Dam article is tough because you have people from outside bashing us, which whatever. But then I see it every day on Facebook. People from Lawrence bashing Lawrence. Like, dude, you're not doing anything by doing that. You're not out there working, you know? Like, that bothers me. Yeah.
B.B. Brown,
DB Brown, isn't that guy?
Is he a truth teller?
He is.
Yeah.
He is, man.
So it's
that has to be done.
It's possible to name the problems.
And what I like about Debo Brown is that, you know, he named the problem and he went out there and cleaned that park. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the same way. If there's a problem, like I said, you know, the housing problem is an issue, and I think most developers here are doing it wrong. I took it upon myself to try to figure it out on my own.
How did you do that? What are you into here?
Oh, I'm talking about the Mi Casita project and how we're trying to build homes out of shipping containers. So we're using a local factory where we could prefabricate the homes inside and then, you know, quicken the process to development, which makes it much less expensive for homeowners to have a property, and it shortens the process. So we could, if things go well, we could develop numerous homes in a matter of years.
What do these homes look like?
All modular homes, so tiny houses. They're around 400 to 500 square feet, and they're dedicated to single mothers and to young adults and single adults.
You know, I had this idea before you, my man.
I bet you did.
And
I robbed it from you.
What I said is quite simple. I had a friend who went through a carpentry program, and to graduate, he had to build a shed. And he said, wow, just build these sheds and you put them on the common. And then people said, oh, no, we have to keep the open space on the common. They said, well, you have people living and dying under the bridge, or you have people in these little houses. It can be done. Where there's a will, there's a way.
And there's so many open lots.
So you see,
yeah.
There's open lots.
There's open lots. The common, I don't think will be the best part, but there's so many open lots around the city that, you know, that could be used for that.
So you took my idea and you improved on it. I
that's
love
what
it.
we did.
That's great. So are you manufacturing these houses now?
We are. We're in the process. We're still building up the revenue. We have a GoFundMe page happening. It's Mi Casita /GoFundMe. I mean, GoFundMe.com/Mi Casita.
This program is broadcast in Arkansas and in Georgia, where there may not be a majority Latino population. So Mi Casita is my little house.
My little house, right. It stands for My Little House, and we're raising the funds. We've already designed most of it, so we know how many shipping containers we're going to use. We have all the information, and is now building up the revenue to purchase our first containers so we can start.
Are you getting them at a discount?
I don't think we are.
I wonder if some of them were being donated. We see these shipping containers on the big ships.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get some donation and some, you know, but it's business, you know. It's we're still looking for the people to talk to.
And in the 1960s, my father hauled a semi container and put it on our property outside of New York City. So I really had, we're in the first Mi Casita.
Oh, you had the first one?
Well, people have been living like that for
there's a lot of shipping container designs. I was in Boston the other day, and I was even in Lawrence. You see people put shipping containers together, and I'm just looking at it like, oh man, this could be perfect.
So it's basically people live in trailers. How are you going to get the property?
The property we're working out. We're working on a couple of situations. We're trying to work with the city to try to get some city-owned property at a lower price, so that, you know, if we could get it at a lower price, we could transfer that savings to the homeowner, and it could help both parties out, help us in the side, because we have to put less capital in for land, and then that can go into, you know, the house, and it could, you know, transfer onto the homeowner, and then it can help the city, because, you know, the city faces a lot of issues with, you know, properties being abandoned for numerous years. You know, properties stay abandoned for 10, 20, 30 years here. So if they can sell us the property at the right price, we can make the right move, and we can develop it quicker than any other developer.
The current administration, Mayor Danny Rivera, and the council are behind you in this?
They're very supportive, man. I was really impressed. You know, I think this process has led me to really understand politics a little bit more and be a little bit more appreciative. I was always, you know, F politicians. That was kind of my thing, you know, just being a young adult and not really caring much for the government. But this process kind of really made me appreciate what do we have in Lawrence, which is, You know, in Lawrence, I can stand in front of City Hall and catch the mayor during his lunch break. You can't do that in New York.
I see. I see him going out the back door. That explains it.
Yeah, no, you can't do that in other communities. So in Lawrence, I thought that was really special. The fact that, you know, if I wanted to catch these guys and speak to them one-on-one, you know, it's possible. It's not that hard.
Was Mayor Lantigua a fan of Mi Casita?
No, me and Lantigua never got to speak. I was still in high school during Lantigua's reign, I guess.
Because a lot of people can't say good things about him, and if I say one good thing about him, people get on my case. But I used to see him the same way. He used to leave his office. My office used to be eye level with his, and he used to take like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to his car, you know, because he would be
talking to people.
Yes, interacting with and anybody as well.
I like that. I like that about him. I like that about anybody because it just shows humility and it shows community. You know.
So one way of looking at it is to say that Lawrence is an entity in itself. It is a true gateway city. It's a place where it's like a harbor. You know, we're not on the water, but it's like a harbor, and people sail in, they land in Lawrence, and they can get a toehold in this country. Mm-hmm. But right now, Lawrence is a bit fearful because of the advertised Trump policies to deport every undocumented person, or I want to say just people without papers, sin papeles. Let's define it that way, because both of us agree that the term illegal alien, what would that be? A Martian without citizenship?
Right.
We need to look at the larger humanity of it. So Lawrence is this beacon that said, come here, you can work. We'll give you a job.
Yeah.
You know, might be 10 people in an apartment, the way I grew up.
Me too.
Or 3 or 4 families that own one house. Mm-hmm. And so on, but we will extend the conditions for you to prosper. But we've just heard about people being detained and possibly deported who showed up at the immigration center here in Lawrence, and that there are many thousands of people without papers. Who now are thinking twice about driving to work. Some of them are being driven. They're fearful of their families being divided. How are we responding to that?
I know Juana Matias is doing some great work as far as educating people.
She's a state representative.
She's a state representative.
Along with Frank Moran.
Yeah.
And
Juana Matias
Diana
especially,
Zaglio.
she was an immigration lawyer before she became state rep. So she's well equipped with understanding, and she's doing a lot with organizing local lawyers and organizing some of the professionals who understand the intricacies of immigration law, and using that to educate the undocumented population in the city. I think education is the strongest weapon you could have, because
what is she telling them in this
their
education
rights,
program?
you know, they're telling them.
Well, what are your rights if you have no papers?
Your rights are, I mean, I haven't been to the program, but from what I understand, she's letting people know that, you know, there is a process, and in case that ICE tries to pursue you or you're caught in a situation, there is a process, and you do have rights, and you do have a voice because you are a human being. Mm-hmm. And I think she's equipping people with resources as far as, you know, having access to an immigration lawyer, because a lot of people are undocumented and don't know that there are lawyers who will support them and help them out in any situation.
Well, of all the tweets that have come from Donald Trump, I don't remember one saying, "You have a voice. You are a human being."
Yeah,
it
why
does
would he
seem
say
to
that?
be.
Why would he say that?
Well, what I'm saying is that there seems to be a very radically different atmosphere in this country. Even though Obama himself was called the deporter in chief because he had deported more people than Bush previously, Still, he respected sensitive areas. He respected schools, playgrounds, hospitals, and churches. I'm proud to say that the Unitarian Universalists in Denver and elsewhere have opened their congregations to be sanctuaries. I think we're talking. Well, comment on this. I don't see a pathway to citizenship. I see people saying the United States is 4% of the population, and we have X, 25% of the wealth. And why don't you, come here? The streets are paved with gold. This is the land of opportunity. And when they get here, it's a different story. Because Congress has refused to come up with a citizenship, a comprehensive citizenship program, because there's 11 million people. Not talking about, Anne Frank's family up in an attic somewhere. We're talking about 11 million people who are living, I was going to say in the shadows, except they're not in the shadows.
They're not, because they're part of the economy and part of everything else that's running.
So May 1st is a day without...
immigrants.
Immigrants.
Right. So businesses are closing down, and people are meeting at the park. Non-immigrants, immigrants are coming together, to make a stand. And this is happening in Lawrence, but it's also happening in the much larger worldwide community. So it's a much larger movement, and it's
one of the groups that has been leading this is Cosecha.
Yeah.
And then I find that for the first time in the 14 years that I've lived in this area, I find different groups coming together that used to be, the nonprofit industrial complex used to be competing, and it's just wonderful to see. You mentioned Groundworks,
Lawrence Community Works,
Merrimack Valley Project.
Yep.
All these groups are coming together and deferring to each other. I don't have to be in the spotlight. What matters is the 8,000, 10,000, who knows, undocumented people in this city that didn't kind of land in a spaceship, but knew that they could survive here. The Guatemalans are going to outnumber the Dominicans the way the Dominicans outnumber the Puerto Ricans. And who knows what wave is going to come after the Guatemalans, but the Guatemalans are not here by accident. They're here because there were genocides in their country and ongoing political oppression and dire poverty. So where do you go to support your family? 1/3 of the income of Central America is provided by people working 2-3 jobs at fast food restaurants
here, and then sending it back.
Sending that money. 1/3 of the economy.
That's insane,
my friends. Wow. So there is already a partnership, a worldwide international partnership. But people are looking for easy solutions. You have papers? Do you not have papers? And I'm afraid the atmosphere is really becoming dire.
Yeah. I think it's a battle. I believe in choosing your battles, and the battle of immigration is a battle we should refrain from, because it's too expensive. It's too complicated.
Oh, you mean the American government should not be engaging in what some people really feel as
a violation of human rights.
Exactly. I was going to use a more extreme term, but I don't want to inflame the situation. The fact of the matter is that 11 million people are not here by accident.
Right, exactly.
And this country does have the most incredible ideals. They're right there on the Statue of Liberty. When my grandmother and grandfather came over in 1910, they rushed up from steerage to stand on the deck of their ship, and they saw, "Give me your tired, your poor, all ye huddled masses."
I think there still is that in this country, because again, this country is made up of people. And there's still good people who believe in that. People like yourself, people like your son, people like me, people like all my friends who don't give up on others, who want to give others a chance. And this country is made up, a majority, I would say, of caring folks. And Yeah,
So-
those ideals are still true. That those ideals that we hold in our Constitution and that we hold as this country being a country of the free.
Okay. So it's time to wrap up, believe it or not.
Oh, man.
And there's two things that I think are key, and have you respond to this. You grew up with empathy, but studies have shown that since the 1970s, since the dissolution of neighborhoods, like what's missing, I see, among young people, quite simply, is this education in empathy. They're reduced to a level, they certainly feel that way, of 6, 7 years old, getting yourself ready for school, for gosh sakes, having a Coke and a Pop-Tart, for breakfast. This is not a country that really cares for its children. If it did, we would be concentrating on true education, which is really a moral education. I really don't care if you know trigonometry or not. We have
Yeah.
Google, man. You can watch a YouTube and learn trigonometry.
Moral education is huge. Not many adults even have that.
Children are born curious and caring,
They
and they're
are.
also born with pro-social instincts. Because
Yeah.
if I have a sense of myself, it's only because I also have a sense of you,
Right.
as others.
I agree, man.
But you've really been engaging with the young people in this city,
I have to.
and you've been bringing them into your growing projects, your landscaping
Mi Casita
projects.
is completely ran by people under the age of 25. Afro-Latino kids are the ones running this organization.
And you're doing something on Essex Street with
Yeah.
a garden.
We have a garden. We have a complete vertical garden, and we're growing food. And I have middle schoolers who we were just talking about, teaching them about empathy, teaching them about through plants. I'm teaching them how to be attentive, how to care, and then working together, I'm teaching them how. Look, you'll get way more done if you work with your friends instead of arguing all the time. And I don't even have to tell them that. We're doing it just off
Exactly.
strength and of showing by example.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the
what I was
work that
getting
we're
at.
doing.
And if you can get young people just exposed to that,
Yeah, man.
that's the whole philosophy.
That's what we're doing.
Well, May 1st, we're meeting at the
Common Park.
at 10 o'clock.
At
Is it
10 o'clock, I
10
think it is.
o'clock,
Yeah,
and there will
yeah.
be a march, and there will be speakers, and there will be education. I just want to say, I and my producer, Tom Gale, Tom Gale is a Vietnam veteran. We're veterans of the civil rights movement. I've never seen things so challenging as they are today. And what I'm going to, recommend to the city of Lawrence is, if there was ever a time to pull together and put petty jealousies aside, and not to underestimate the forces, the retrograde, regressive forces.
We spend a lot of time blaming one another instead of taking responsibility on ourselves.
On that note, we're going to have to end, man.
Okay.
This has been absolutely beautiful.
Beginning.
Thanks very much for tuning in. See you later.
We're done.
I think we're into time.
All right.
We'll see. This will be the outtakes.